Ambassador Sarah Chen's fingers danced across the crystalline interface of her quantum terminal, each movement precise despite her racing heart. The ancient data crystal she discovered in the Imperial archives pulsed with a soft blue glow, its secrets finally unlocking after 3 sleepless nights of decryption. The opulent chamber in the Drachnid Empire's diplomatic quarter felt more like a cage now. Ornate golden pillars stretched toward the vaulted ceiling, where holographic constellations traced the Empire's expansion across the galaxy. Each glowing point of light represented a peaceful integration, at least according to official records. The truth hidden in the crystal told a different story. Cross-reference complete. Her AI assistant whispered through her neural implant, confirming data authenticity at 99.97%. Sarah leaned back in her chair, the weight of the discovery pressing down on her shoulders. The Empire's systematic destabilization of civilizations wasn't just ancient history. It was ongoing. Behind the elegant speeches and grand ceremonies, their agents were already laying the groundwork for Earth's peaceful absorption into their domain. A soft chime from her terminal indicated an incoming priority message from the Imperial Palace. The weekly audience with the God Emperor had been moved up to immediate. They knew. Sarah's gaze fell on the small hologram on her desk, her daughter Maya back on Earth, grinning proudly in her Space Force Keda uniform. The Empire thought they understood humanity, had calculated every variable except one. The sheer stubborn determination that had taken their species from cave paintings to the stars. Her fingers flew across the interface again, composing 2 messages. The first contained the crystal's full contents, along with her analysis and verification data. The second was shorter, meant for her daughter. Remember what makes us human. We adapt, we overcome, and we never forget our own. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Sarah initiated the quantum transmission sequence, watching the progress bar with growing tension. The massive doors to her chamber shuddered as something heavy impacted them. Terminal lock detected, her AI reported. Imperial forces are attempting to sever quantum communications. Route power from life support if you have to, Sarah ordered, standing to face the doors. That transmission has to reach Earth. The doors buckled inward as Imperial guards in ceremonial armor burst through, their energy weapons charged and humming. Behind them floated a robed figure, High Inquisitor Krelix, their compound eyes gleaming with artificial enhancement. Ambassador Chen. The Inquisitor's translator rendered their clicks and whistles into standard English. You have accessed restricted historical data without authorization. This is a violation of Protocol 7 Alpha. Sarah straightened her diplomatic uniform, letting a small smile play across her lips. Interesting. I was under the impression that the Empire's history was open to all, especially its honored diplomatic guests. Transmission complete, her eye whispered one final time. The Inquisitor's upper appendages twitched in irritation. You will be brought before the God Emperor immediately. Your actions have broken our most sacred laws. No, Sarah replied calmly, her smile growing wider. I've simply proved that humanity doesn't break as easily as you expected. The evidence is already spreading across every quantum channel. Your empire of lies won't survive the light of truth. The guards moved forward with practiced precision, energy cuffs ready. Sarah held her head high as they bound her hands. The Empire thought this would be her final hour, a warning to humanity about the price of defiance. They didn't understand that humans had long ago learned to turn endings into beginnings. As they led her away, the holographic stars continued their eternal dance overhead, unaware that their pattern was about to change forever. Humanity was coming. And this time, they weren't interested in diplomacy. The news of Ambassador Chen's execution played on every holoscreen in the Galactic Trade Hub's central plaza. Thousands of alien species gathered, watching the Imperial broadcast with a mix of horror and morbid fascination. The God Emperor's pronouncement echoed through the vast chamber. Let this serve as a lesson to all who would violate our sacred protocols. Maya Chen stood among them, her cadet uniform replaced by civilian clothes, her fingers clenched around her mother's final message crystal. Around her, The whispers started. The humans will retaliate immediately. Their fleets are already mobilizing. Earth will burn for this. But Maya knew better. She'd been there when the quantum transmission reached Earth Defense Command. She'd watched the aging admirals and fresh-faced generals read her mother's evidence in silence. She'd seen the slow smiles spread across their faces. Signal coming in from Sol Command. Her neural implant whispered, "Operation Nightfall is beginning." The first sign came from the human merchant vessels. One by one, their transponders winked out across the galaxy. Captains transmitted brief messages about technical difficulties before disappearing from all communication channels. Within hours, every human colony world went dark. In the trade hub, aliens rushed to the massive windows as the dozen human ships docked at the station powered down simultaneously. No distress signals, no emergency broadcasts, just silence. "They're running away," a Drachnid noble sneered, his translator barely catching his clicks of contempt. The supposed warrior species reveals its true nature. Maya watched the alien's reflection in the window, remembering her mother's words about the Empire's arrogance. They didn't understand. They couldn't. 3 days later, the Sol system vanished. Not the planets themselves. They still showed up on long-range scans. But every human signal, every broadcast, every quantum signature simply ceased. Sophisticated Imperial probe ships reported nothing but empty space where Earth's mighty defense fleet should have been. The Drachnid Empire celebrated their bloodless victory. The God Emperor declared a month of festivities to mark humanity's wise choice to withdraw from galactic affairs. But in hidden places, older races remembered ancient warnings. The Orcs sages whispered about predator species who grew quietest before the kill. The Zinthi merchants recalled legends of worlds that fell silent before unleashing terrible vengeance. Maya walked through the trade hub's now empty human quarter, past shuttered shops and sealed residences. Her neural implant hummed with encrypted transmissions, tracking the progress of humanity's disappearing act. The final phase would begin soon. In her private quarters, she accessed a quantum lock channel. The feed showed her Earth's defense fleet, now hidden behind technology that bent light and sensor readings around them. Ships that had been under construction for decades, their true capabilities masked by deliberately leaked designs showing only a fraction of their power. A new message flashed across her vision. Last human civilian vessel clear of Imperial space. Commence Phase 2. Maya smiled, remembering childhood lessons about Earth's oceans, about the way water recedes from the shore before its tsunami strikes. The Empire thought they'd won, thought humanity had broken under their display of power. They didn't understand that humans had learned the art of war from Earth itself, from the silent hunter in the dark, from the storm that builds unseen, from the earthquake that transforms the landscape in an instant. Her mother's final message played again in her mind. Remember what makes us human. We adapt, we overcome, and we never forget our own. The Empire had expected an immediate response, a display of human rage and military might. Instead, they would learn what every predator on Earth knew instinctively. The most dangerous moment isn't when you can see the threat. It's when you suddenly realize it's been waiting in the dark all along, watching you celebrate your imagined victory. The Star Cleaver, pride of the Drachnid Imperial fleet, stretched across space like a blade of darkened steel. 3 kilometers of advanced weaponry and Imperial might, escorted by a dozen heavy cruisers. High Admiral Codex stood on the command deck, compound eyes studying tactical displays of the Centauri trade routes. Still no sign of human vessels. High Admiral, his sensor officer reported. 3 months of silence. Kvex clicked in satisfaction. The Empire's swift justice had accomplished what centuries of diplomatic maneuvering could not, the complete submission of a potential rival species. Soon, the God Emperor would order the occupation of abandoned human colonies, expanding the Empire's territory without firing a single. The tactical display flickered. Minor sensor ghost, the officer explained. Recalibrating. The flicker came again, stronger. Then another. Across the bridge, screens pulsed with phantom readings. Kvex felt his carapace tighten with ancestral warning signals. Multiple contacts. The sensor officer's translator barely kept up with his agitated clicks. Cannot establish configuration, or... The escort cruiser Imperial Dawn vanished. Not exploded, not disabled. Simply ceased to exist between one sensor sweep and the next. Before Kvex could process this impossibility, 2 more escorts disappeared. Evasive action. Kvex commanded, but the words died in his throat as the view outside the armored windows changed. Space itself seemed to ripple, like heat waves over desert sands. Through the distortion, he caught glimpses of impossible shapes, ships that appeared to bend reality around them, visible only by the way they distorted the starfield behind them. The Star Cleaver's automated defense systems remained silent. No enemy weapons were detected. No energy signatures registered. Yet his escort fleet was vanishing ship by ship, each disappearing without a trace. Emergency transmission from Fleet Command. His communications officer chittered. Similar attacks reported in 6 systems, 8 systems, 12, 15. A new signal overrode every screen on the bridge. The message was text only, in perfect Imperial standard. Diplomacy was your chance. You chose differently. Kvex felt the deck shudder beneath him. Not from weapons fire. The Star Cleaver was being systematically dismantled. Hull plates phased out of existence. Atmosphere containment fields collapsed section by section. With clinical precision, his mighty dreadnought was being erased from existence. Abandon ship, he ordered, rushing toward the escape pods. All hands to emergency stations. But the pods were already gone, the corridors rearranging themselves impossibly before his eyes. As atmosphere vented into space, Kvex caught one final glimpse through the dissolving hull. The ghost ships were visible now, their cloaking fields partially dropped. Sleek vessels of impossible configuration, their hulls covered in patterns that hurt his eyes to look at directly, and on their sides, barely visible, the Earth Defense Force insignia. In the Galactic Trade Hub, Maya Chen watched the classified feeds with quiet satisfaction. 50 Imperial military installations had gone dark simultaneously, their defenders evacuated to nearby civilian centers before the bases were methodically deconstructed. Her neural implant buzzed with updates from the quantum network connecting Earth's ghost fleet. The new phase shift technology worked perfectly. Imperial defenses couldn't target ships operating partially out of normal spacetime. The consciousness-linked pilots coordinated their attacks with impossible precision, their enhanced minds operating at speeds that made the Empire's advanced AI look primitive. Phase 1 objectives complete. The tactical network reported 0 civilian casualties, 87% of Imperial military assets in targeted systems neutralized. Maya accessed a private channel, sending a brief message to the fleet commanders. Mother would be proud. We remembered what makes us human. The response came instantly. We adapt, we overcome, and we never forget our own. Across Imperial space, the ghost fleets continued their work. The Empire was learning too late that humans hadn't spent the last 3 months hiding. They had been hunting. Dr. Riza Patel stood before the captured Imperial Research Terminal, its crystalline display casting a soft purple glow across his face. Behind him, Maya Chen watched as he sifted through thousands of classified xenobiological studies. They were deep within a secure facility on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, where Earth's greatest scientific minds had gathered to understand their advantage. There, he said, fingers dancing across the alien interface. Project classification, species cognitive analysis, security level, God Emperor's eyes only. The display erupted with neural scans of various species during faster-than-light travel. Arxer brains showed massive shutdown of higher functions. Drachnid neural patterns fragmented entirely. Every species required either AI assistance or emerged from FTL in a fog of confusion. Then came the human scans. Impossible. The Imperial researchers' notes read, Human neural activity doesn't merely continue during FTL. It expands. Consciousness spreads across dimensional boundaries that should be inaccessible to organic minds. They aren't just surviving the journey. They're evolving. Maya stepped closer, remembering her first FTL flight in cadet training. The sensation of her mind stretching, touching spaces that shouldn't exist. They'd all felt it, but none had realized its significance. The Empire's greatest fear, Reza continued, wasn't our technology or our resources. They feared what we might become if we ever understood what FTL travel was doing to our brains. The facility's quantum network hummed as it distributed the revelation to Earth's ghost fleets. In their phase-shifted vessels, human pilots finally understood why they could coordinate so perfectly, why their consciousness-linked attacks flowed with impossible precision. Their minds weren't just operating faster. They were operating in dimensions the Empire couldn't access. "Show me the classified fleet footage," Maya requested. The display shifted to a recent battle. Imperial sensors could barely detect the ghost ships, but the facility's quantum-enhanced systems revealed the truth. Human vessels phased between normal space and the higher dimensions accessed during FTL travel. Their pilots' expanded consciousness allowed them to perceive and operate in these impossible spaces, coordinating attacks that seemed to violate the laws of physics themselves. The Empire's whole military doctrine is based on AI battlefield control, Reza explained. But AI can't follow us into these spaces. It's pure human consciousness doing what it does best, adapting to new frontiers. Maya's neural implant buzzed with an incoming transmission. The new battle data was being integrated into Earth's strategic networks. Ghost fleet commanders were already developing tactics that would have been impossible just hours ago. "We're not just fighting in normal space anymore," she realized. "We're fighting in the spaces between spaces, the dimensions that consciousness touches during FTL travel." Reza nodded, pulling up more classified Imperial documents. They'd known about humans' unique neural architecture for decades. It's why they pushed so hard for peaceful integration. They wanted to control us before we discovered our own potential. "And now?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. "Now we're touching realms of existence their weapons can't reach. Every human pilot is becoming a gateway to dimensions the Empire can't access." They thought FTL travel was just about moving between points in space. But for us, it's about moving between layers of reality itself. Maya finished. Her implant relayed another strategic update. Ghost fleet victories were accelerating as pilots learned to exploit their expanded consciousness. Imperial defenses, reliant on conventional physics and AI control, might as well have been trying to stop a quantum wave with a paper wall. In the display, an Imperial dreadnought fired its main weapon at a ghost ship. The human vessel's pilot simply shifted their consciousness, carrying their ship into spaces where energy beams had no meaning, before emerging behind the dreadnought's defenses. The Empire had thought they were fighting a species limited by physical laws. Instead, they were fighting a species that had learned to transcend them. The God Emperor's inner sanctum pulsed with emergency lighting as holographic displays showed another sector falling to the ghost fleets. The massive alien ruler's iridescent carapace reflected the red warning lights as advisors scrambled to present options. "The Planet Breaker fleet is ready, Divine One," High Admiral Xental reported, his translator struggling to keep up with his agitated clicks. 20 World Ender-class vessels, each capable of reducing a planet to asteroid fields. Even their phase-shifted vessels cannot ignore the fundamental forces we can unleash. In the shadows of the chamber, Maya Chen watched through quantum-linked cameras that the Empire's best security systems couldn't detect. The diplomatic quarters where her mother had died were visible through the ancient palace's crystalline windows. Her neural implant buzzed. "All teams in position," it whispered, "awaiting your signal." The God Emperor rose from the crystalline throne, multiple limbs gesturing at the tactical display. "Deploy the planet breakers. Target their colony worlds first. Show them the price of defiance." Maya sent the signal. Across Imperial space, 10,000 human consciousness-linked pilots acted as one. Their ghost ships didn't emerge from phase space to attack. Instead, they projected their expanded consciousness directly into the Empire's quantum networks. Dr. Patel's voice came through Maya's implant. The dimensional barriers are collapsing exactly as predicted. Human consciousness, expanded by FTL exposure, can bridge the gap between physical and digital space. On the Planet Breaker flagship, alarms screamed as human consciousness flooded its systems. The ship's AI tried to respond, but found itself facing something it couldn't comprehend. Minds operating in dimensions it couldn't access, rewriting its code faster than it could adapt. Multiple breaches detected. The Imperial bridge crew's panic translated clearly. The humans. They're inside the systems, somehow. Maya watched through 1,000 quantum-linked feeds as the scene repeated across the Planet Breaker fleet. Human pilots, their consciousness expanded beyond normal spacetime, reached through higher dimensions to touch the digital realm directly. The God Emperor's compound eyes widened as reports flooded in. Every Planet Breaker vessel was launching its escape pods, their crews evacuating as systems crashed and weapons powered down. The mightiest fleet ever assembled was being dismantled by enemies they couldn't even see. Impossible. High Admiral Xental's translator glitched with his fury. No organic mind can interface with our quantum networks, the processing speeds alone. You still don't understand, Maya whispered, though only her fellow agents could hear. Human consciousness in FTL space doesn't operate at normal speeds. We're not bound by your physical limitations anymore. Through the quantum network, she felt the synchronized actions of thousands of human pilots. Their expanded minds touched realms where the difference between digital and physical space broke down, where consciousness itself became a weapon more powerful than any planet-killing beam. The Planet Breaker ships began to drift, their crews safely evacuated, their AIs overwhelmed by contact with minds operating in dimensions they couldn't comprehend. Not a single shot had been fired. In the God Emperor's sanctum, the tactical displays went dark. The ancient quantum crystals that powered the palace's defenses pulsed with new energy as human consciousness flowed through them. A message from the ghost fleets, a terrified advisor reported. They say diplomacy was your chance. Maya sent the final code through her implant. Around the palace, hidden quantum transmitters activated. Every screen, every hologram, every communication device in the capital began broadcasting the evidence her mother had died to reveal. The God Emperor, watching his empire's mightiest weapons fall without a shot fired, finally understood the truth. They had feared humanity's potential so much that they had forced exactly the evolution they had tried to prevent. The Empire had wanted to contain humanity's advancement. Instead, they had become the catalyst for its transcendence. The truth spread across the Empire faster than any quantum signal. Every holographic billboard in the capital displayed Ambassador Chen's discovered evidence. Every personal communication device buzzed with proof of millennia of imperial deception. Even the atmospheric advertising clouds above major cities shifted to reveal classified documents about the Empire's true history. In the Imperial Academy of Military Sciences, Professor Kazal watched his students' compound eyes widen as they processed the revealed information. Generations of carefully constructed lies crumbled before archived footage of Imperial forces engineering the collapse of ancient civilizations. The Centauri Alliance didn't destroy itself in civil war. One cadet realized, mandibles clicking in distress. We destabilized their economy, planted false evidence of betrayal between their worlds. The Orcs plague that devastated their colonies. Another added, our bioweapons divisions engineered it. Through her quantum-linked feeds, Maya Chen observed similar scenes playing out across thousands of imperial institutions. Dr. Patel's voice came through her neural implant. The dimensional barriers between digital and physical space are holding steady. Every piece of evidence your mother discovered is reaching its targeted audience. In the orbital shipyards above the Imperial throne world, Admiral Orcs watched his mighty fleet split in two. half the crews, upon learning the truth about whom they served, turned their weapons toward the surface. The other half, generations of loyalty programming still holding, prepared to fire on their own kind. Maya sent the signal. Human consciousness flooded the quantum networks connecting both sides of the Imperial fleet, not to disable their ships this time, but to open a dialogue impossible to fake or deny. Every crew member, loyal or rebel, felt the touch of expanded human minds sharing memories, evidence, and truth. "We could destroy your ships," the collective human consciousness conveyed. "Instead, we offer understanding." Through the quantum link, Imperial military personnel experienced the memories of civilizations their ancestors had helped destroy. They felt the pain of species forced into warfare by carefully engineered circumstances. They saw the pattern repeated across thousands of years, the Empire finding promising young civilizations and ensuring they destroyed themselves before becoming threats. Admiral Orcs watched his fleet lower their weapons as the truth became impossible to deny. In the lower levels of the capital, the common citizens were making their own discoveries. Personal archives, unlocked by human consciousness threading through the quantum networks, revealed family histories that had been erased. Entire generations learned their ancestors hadn't willingly joined the Empire. They were the survivors of manufactured conflicts designed to force their submission. Maya walked through the holographic reconstructions of historic events, now playing across the capital's grand plazas. Her mother's final message continued to echo. "Remember what makes us human. We adapt. We overcome." But now there was a new addition, spraying through the quantum networks. "And we help others overcome too." Dr. Patel's voice returned through her implant. "Quantum consciousness spreads are holding stable at 97% of Imperial space. The truth is reaching everyone, even in the outer colonies. The Empire's own communication networks, designed to maintain control through carefully filtered information, became the means of their undoing. Human consciousness, operating in dimensions the Imperial systems couldn't block, turned every quantum-linked device into a window to hidden history. In the Imperial Palace, the God Emperor watched his carefully constructed web of lies unravel, centuries of deception exposed not by weapons, but by something far more powerful, the truth carried by minds that could touch the spaces between spaces. Maya accessed the quantum network one final time, feeling the collective consciousness of humanity flowing through dimensions that transcended physical space. They had learned to break the barriers between mind and machine, between digital and physical reality. But their greatest victory wasn't in destroying the Empire's military might. It was in showing its people how to break free of chains they hadn't even known they carried. The Sol system shimmered back into visibility like a mirage solidifying into reality. Earth's orbital defense platforms, hidden for months behind dimensional veils, revealed themselves in a display that lit up every Imperial sensor array. The ghost fleets emerged from phase space, taking formation around humanity's homeworld. In the Imperial Palace's war room, the God Emperor's inner circle watched the revelation with mounting dread. "Divine One." High Admiral Xental's translator crackled. "The humans are baiting us. Their defenses are exposed. If we concentrate our remaining forces—" "Yes," the God Emperor interrupted, compound eyes reflecting tactical displays. "They show themselves now, thinking victory is assured. Gather every loyal ship. We will remind them why the Empire has ruled for 10,000 years." Through quantum-linked feeds, Maya Chen and Dr. Patel observed the desperate preparations. The Empire was committing everything to one final strike. Every dreadnought still under their control. Every weapon system not yet compromised by human consciousness intrusion. "They're desperate enough to try," Maya commented from her station in Earth's primary defense center. "Even knowing what we can do." Patel nodded, monitoring the quantum consciousness networks linking Earth's defenders. "Sometimes the cornered predator is the most dangerous. They're hoping to overwhelm our ability to maintain dimensional consciousness links across multiple ships." The Imperial fleet arrived in waves, reality-splitting drives tearing holes in spacetime as thousands of ships emerged from FTL. Their formation was perfect, their tactics honed by millennia of warfare. Energy weapons powered up, missile tubes opened, and experimental temporal distortion devices hung to life. They found Earth waiting. Not just the planet's defenses, but the collected consciousness of every human pilot linked through the quantum network. Their minds, expanded by FTL exposure and united across dimensional barriers, created something the Empire's tactical computers couldn't comprehend. A sphere of pure thought surrounded Earth, invisible to normal sensors, but blazing like a sun to consciousness-aware systems. Every human defender, their mind enhanced by dimensional expansion, added to the gestalt. Consciousness synchronization at maximum, Paddle reported. We're operating beyond theoretical limits. Maya felt it through her neural implant, thousands of minds thinking as one, yet maintaining their individuality. Expanded consciousness flowing through dimensions the Empire couldn't access, turning thought itself into humanity's ultimate defense. The Imperial fleet opened fire. Energy beams struck consciousness-reinforced shields and dissipated into higher dimensions. Missiles found their quantum targeting systems redirected by minds operating faster than I could process. Temporal distortion weapons affected only normal spacetime, while human defenders operated partially outside it. "Show them," Maya whispered. "Show them everything." Through the quantum network, humanity shared its consciousness with the Imperial fleet. Every crew member, from bridge officers to engine technicians, experienced what it meant to touch higher dimensions. They felt their minds expand beyond normal spacetime, tasting the freedom that the Empire had tried to prevent humanity from discovering. Ships began powering down as their crews understood the truth. Others turned their weapons on the dying Empire's last loyalist vessels. The God Emperor watched in horror as the greatest fleet ever assembled dissolved not through destruction, but through enlightenment. Final transmission from the Imperial Palace, Paddle reported. The God Emperor is requesting asylum, Maya finished, feeling the quantum signal shift. Their own royal guard has turned. Above Earth, the remaining ghost fleets resumed their phase-shifted state. Not to hide this time, but to guide the surrendering Imperial ships into safe orbit. Human consciousness touched alien minds across dimensional barriers, showing them that victory didn't require destruction. In the quantum network, Maya felt her mother's final message echo with new meaning. Remember what makes us human. We adapt, we overcome, and we never forget our own. The Empire had expected humanity to seek vengeance. Instead, they found something far more powerful, the offer of transcendence. 1 year after the Empire's surrender, Maya Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Council chamber on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Alpha Centauri. The crystalline walls, designed through collaboration between human and former Imperial architects, reflected the light of 3 suns. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the chamber, their minds linked through quantum networks that bridged not just space, but understanding. Dr. Patil approached, his neural implant synchronizing with hers. The final integration tests are complete. Every species' consciousness responds differently to FTL expansion, but they're all beginning to touch the spaces between spaces. Maya nodded, watching alien diplomats communicate through dimensional layers that months ago they couldn't even perceive. The Empire's greatest fear, humanity's ability to expand consciousness beyond normal spacetime, had become their greatest gift to the galaxy. Not every species experiences the expansion as strongly as humans, she noted. But together, they're achieving what none could do alone. Patel finished. The quantum networks let them share their unique perceptions. Different species, different minds, all touching different aspects of higher dimensions. The former God Emperor, now simply Representative Cuttle of the Drachnid worlds, approached them. Without the ceremonial armor and artificial enhancements, the alien leader seemed smaller, but somehow more dignified. The trade delegation from the Orcs territories has arrived, Kittle's translator rendered in perfect English. Their consciousness-linked networks detected no deception in the proposed terms, a first in our species' long history of negotiations. Maya accessed the quantum network, feeling the threads of communication flowing through dimensions that transcended physical space. Where once the Empire had forced unity through deception and controlled information, now true understanding flowed freely between worlds. In the center of the chamber, a holographic memorial displayed images of those lost in the Empire's final years. Ambassador Sarah Chen's image held a place of honor, her final message now engraved in 1,000 languages. Remember what makes us human. We adapt, we overcome, and we never forget our own. But beneath it was a new addition. And in remembering our humanity, we help others find their own. The station's quantum arrays hummed as consciousness-linked ships arrived from across the galaxy. Former Imperial worlds, once forced into submission through engineered conflicts, now chose freely to join the new Galactic Council. Their representatives brought not just diplomatic credentials, but the expanded awareness that let them touch the very foundations of reality. The pilot training program is exceeding expectations, Paddle reported, reviewing data streams. Every species develops their own unique way of perceiving higher dimensions during FTL travel. The diversity of approaches is actually strengthening the network. Maya watched a group of Drachnid cadets practicing with human instructors, learning to extend their consciousness beyond normal spacetime. Their compound eyes reflected with wonder as they touched realms their empire had tried to keep hidden from them. "Mother would be proud," she said softly, "not just of what we achieved, but of what we chose to do with the victory." The quantum network rippled with agreement from minds both human and alien. The Empire had feared humanity's potential to touch higher dimensions, had tried to prevent what they saw as a threat to their control. In doing so, they had catalyzed not just humanity's transformation, but the galaxy's. Where they had forced false unity through careful manipulation of information, now true understanding flowed through quantum networks that bridged not just space and time, but consciousness itself. Where they had ruled through fear of the unknown, now 1,000 species worked together to explore dimensions beyond normal spacetime. The Empire had tried to prevent humanity from reaching its potential. Instead, they had helped create something far greater, a galaxy where consciousness itself had evolved beyond the boundaries of what any one species thought possible. Maya felt her mother's presence in the quantum network, not as a ghost, but as an echo of truth that had started this transformation. They had remembered what made them human. And in doing so, they had helped the galaxy remember what made it alive.